Hello, writers. Come write with me. My name is Michaela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my channel, Write with Michaela. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you could go on this journey with me. If this is the first time you're joining me, I'm excited to have you here on my channel. If you've been with me from the beginning or somewhere along the journey, I'm very glad you're returning. Excuse me. Today is story time, or the day of our chapter exchange. If you're writing with me and you wish to exchange chapters, then send your chapter with written permission to writewithmichaela@gmail.com. I will post the email address at the end of the video and in the description below. I'm looking forward to reading your chapters. All chapters are writing prompts read on the channel, whether they are mine or another writer's work, are copyright protected material, and no one may use any part in writing their own stories. This story is PG-13, so if you're under 13 years of age, you need parental guidance, go ask mom and dad or your guardian. This story is in its rough draft stage, just as the last stories we've heard. The title of this story is Elloni's Pride, and today we are reading chapter 8 out of book 3. If you would like to read along, then send to the email I stated earlier and request a PDF of the chapter. Make sure you are specific. Now, let's start. Elloni's Pride, Book 3, Gaining Freedom, Chapter 8, 2 Dragons. Sir Bradley, Broman, and Coulter got on their dragons and flew south, invisibly. Since they were invisible, the patrols didn't see them. They landed in the tall, grassy plains that were south of their mountain ranges. Sir Bradley thought to the other two to keep their invisibility because he thought he saw a couple of black specks in the grasses, and that could be dragons. Broman thought, "Oh, good. Just what I need is more dragons to train." Excuse me. Sir Bradley chuckled and then thought the exclamation that these dragons still belonged to King Damantade. Coulter thought, "Aren't we being a little too dangerous to come look at enemy dragons?" Sir Bradley chuckled again. He remembered how scared Coulter had been of everything in the beginning. Now, most times Coulter was okay and not so scared, but meeting enemy dragons was something to be afraid of. Sir Bradley thought, "Hopefully they won't know we are here. I'm looking at the dust to see if I can see a difference." Broman pointed up even though he was invisible and no one could see him. I don't want to shock anyone, but there are more dragons heading here, and they may have riders." Sir Bradley looked south, and he saw about 10 dragons flying towards them. Then they seemed to spot the 2 dragons, so they circled around and landed in the tall grasses. The enemy soldiers shouted orders to surround each dragon. Broman thought, "What are they doing?" "I'm not sure," thought Sir Bradley. "Maybe they are trying to capture these 2 dragons." "We have to stop them," thought Broman. "No," thought Sir Bradley. "We just came to look at dust. I'm seeing golden dust from 2 of the 10 soldiers. From the black dragons, I see a hazy or light gray dust. How about you, Broman?" "I see red dust from the 2 dragons in the middle of each set of soldiers," thought Broman. "They are afraid. I never thought dragons would be afraid. They're so big and powerful." "That's right, I'm powerful," thought Hagar. "But those black dragons are scary." "Would you two stop talking in my head?" said Coulter. "I am trying to hear the soldiers. They're just trying to give something to the dragons." They paused and listened. The soldiers were telling the dragons that they were sick and needed medicine. The dragons backed up. The dragons were behind them. The 2 dragons kept their heads high up and away from the potions. They got ready to fight. What are they giving the dragons, Sir Bradley, Broman thought. Is it what Clevfor talked about? Thought Coulter. Probably it is a potion, thought Sir Bradley. Broman was very angry at the soldiers. He sent thoughts to the closest dragon. Listen to me. I'm your trainer. Give me your name, and I will cast an invisibility charm on you, and you can fly away. Silence. Broman tried again. This time he tried to think with both dragons. Silence. The dragons breathed fire at the approaching soldiers, and the soldiers ducked, while the outer dragons breathed fire toward the dragon within their circle. Broman pulled his hair. You need to calm down, thought Nymph. The tailor matched to him. Broman wasn't calming. He decided that he would name the dragons. He thought to the dragon nearest him. Your name is now Joyster. Jump up and fly. I will cast a charm to make you invisible. To the farther dragon, he thought the same thing, but he changed the name to Falster. Sir Bradley came to watch the dust, and there was a lot of dust floating around. Sir Bradley thought it was amazing, but to some degree he realized that he hadn't seen the dust before he had seen the dragons with the soldiers flying to them. Suddenly, one of the dragons in the middle leaped up to fly off. Then he vanished out of sight. Everyone was looking up. Then Nayli and her dragon landed, and Nayli slid off her dragon. What you doing? She asked. Coulter grabbed her and extended his invisibility charm over her. Soldiers glanced over and saw another dragon, but the dragon had colors. Then it blinked out of sight. So Bradley shook his head to himself. Nayli could see them when they were invisible. Or, Sir Bradley suddenly thought, maybe she saw the dust. He thought to Siflin, I may need magic. I'm keeping my dragon and Nayli's dragon invisible. Suddenly, the second dragon leapt in the air and also vanished. The soldiers looked up. They didn't know how they would explain the two vanishing dragons. They certainly weren't going to mention the third dragon. Broman thought, I'm going to follow the new dragons, and you can get Nayli back to the mountains. Before Bradley could think no or anything else, Siflin thought, where are you that you need to keep your dragon and Nayli's dragon invisible? Where is Nayli? Sir Bradley thought in return. Nayli found us. I was watching dust. Coulter has Nayli at the moment. Okay, I sense things are happening, so I'll send magic to you and get King Fate to send to Coulter. That's Siflin. Then Sir Bradley felt the wind from Hagar. He also saw the golden dust. He looked over at the soldiers, and they were mounting the dragons, but they didn't know which way to fly, so they divided up. 5 flew the way the first dragon faced, and 5 flew the way the second dragon faced. What? Asked King Fate. Where are they? They found Nayli, or she found them? You said she found them. Yes, Sir Bradley thought Nayli found them, replied Siflin gently. I don't know where they are, but Nayli found them. Sir Bradley said something about watching the dust. We read something yesterday about the dust. But we have to send magic. Now, do you remember the words you need at the end? King Fate sighed. He wanted to know everything, but for now he would send magic. He also knew that many times Sir Bradley would just do things, and it was often very beneficial, like the story he heard of Sir Bradley getting Broman and Coulter out of his village. He shook his head to himself. Then he realized that Siflin was saying the words for the end of the charm, so he paid attention to her. Then he sat down and sent magic to Coulter, as Siflin sent to Bradley. After the soldiers left, Sir Bradley whispered, Okay, are we ready to head back? Coulter, you did a very good job to protect Nayli, and you should receive more magic soon. I cast a charm on Nayli's dragon, so he is invisible. Coulter, can you ride with Nayli on your dragon? I can fly both, thought Instrument, Coulter's dragon. Yes, that shouldn't be a problem, responded Coulter. I don't think Broman is with us, but we need to get Nayli back first, stated Sir Bradley. Then he thought the plan to Nayli's dragon. They mounted and left. When Sir Bradley and Coulter landed inside the mountain ring near the garden, King Fate-Right and Sophlin were there. Vixie was coming out. She rushed over to Nayli. I can never keep up with this child. Coulter released Nayli. She just found us, put in Sir Bradley. I think she sees the dust. Vixie almost asked, the dust? But then she remembered. Just sometimes she shut things out of her mind. Vixie left with Nayli. King Fate-Right approached Sir Bradley. I'll explain after I find Broman, stated Sir Bradley. Actually, I think I need Cleford to come with me. Libya was near and she overheard. Broman? Where's Broman? Sir Bradley gave a reluctant half smile. Broman thinks he's the dragon master over every dragon. But I tried to approach those dragons, stated Libya. King Fate-Right glanced around as they started putting things together. He wasn't sure how Libya had leapt to those conclusions, but sometimes she just knew things. Dear, he said gently, that was a day or two ago. Those dragons have been off the potions longer now. Libya nodded her head and told Sir Bradley that if Roman needed Elloni to think with the dragons, then to let her know. And everyone left for their next thing. Soon, Sir Bradley and Clefort were flying out. Clefort had asked, Are you sure I'm not too heavy for the dragon to fly both of us? Sir Bradley had laughed and accused Clefort of wanting to ride his own dragon. Clefort thought that was a good idea, but he said that wasn't why he asked. This time, Sir Bradley didn't leave him visibly, and the Linker's flying patrol saw him. A few thought to see if Sir Bradley needed anyone to go with him, and he thought no, he didn't. But if he changed his mind, he would think with them. Then he added not to let Nayli follow him. Sir Bradley headed to where they had seen the dragons. He wanted to see if he could pick up a dust trail. Not long after Sir Bradley left, and Kyla was thinking with King Fate-Right that she saw some dragons heading towards them. King Fate-Right thought with Commander Kupcha and found that it was him and his group, so he relayed the news. Commander Kupcha added that Landfoot was a volunteer and he was riding High Snowden as they followed King Daemantade. King Fate-Right wasn't sure what to think. He knew Sophlin always wanted to trust first, but if the one dragon betrayed, then all his people would be in danger. He just had to hope that dragons weren't as deceitful as humans. After they landed and Commander Kupcha gave his report, King Fate-Right agreed that it would be a good time to attack, if King Daemantade wasn't flying home tomorrow morning. So they started preparing. King Fate-Right met with his group and they planned things. As they were planning, King Fate-Right thought of Clefort. Maybe the boy knew how many dragons they had before some left. Then he could calculate how many were presently in King Daemon in Drofstomp Kingdom, since his soldiers estimated that around 206 dragons with riders were with King Daemontade's group. King Fate-Right paused the meeting and thought with Sir Bradley if he could ask Clefort the question. Sir Bradley thought back and returned that according to Clefort's memory and poor counting ability, there had been 580 dragons before some dragons went missing. King Fate-Right continued the meeting with the numbers. From Clefort's memory, King Daemantade had 580 dragons. We have recovered 91 plus one more, so 92. That leaves King Daemantade with around 488, give or take the two Broman is tracking. My soldiers estimate that 206 are with King Daemantade in Kalmesh Kingdom. So the numbers of just Dragon Rider soldiers to Dragon Rider soldiers is... Oh, wait. We have volunteers out. King Fate-Right side. And then just his numbers. He told them it was 72 to 282, give or take, 2 dragons. Then he started adding linkers as Aldemnia listed who she thought should go. So that added 36 linkers, including Brosser. Then Cinder started listing people to go from his group, including Martin and himself. But King Fate-Right said that Aldemnia had included Martin on the list of linkers. In all, Cinder was sending 10 from his group. He then asked if they would need horsemen because he could send some horsemen. King Fate-Right said no, not to send them, but they needed to be ready to protect all in the mountain if the battle went too badly. Soflin placed her hands on King Fate-Right's arms. It's not going to go badly. It may not be an easy in and out, but this is our best opportunity. Fighting around half of King Damontade's troops instead of all of them, or 5 of them with the potential for the rest to show up any minute, is a better idea. King Fate-Right rubbed her back. I want you to help Hector to organize holders, and we need holders for everyone going. So maybe more volunteers, and make sure Hector is a volunteer. He's already sent magic. Soflin smiled. Yes, and I'll make sure everyone knows the correct words to say at the end of the charm. King Fate-Right took them to the mountain ring, and he drew plans in the dirt for them so they had some strategy. And everyone knew that if the volunteers thought that King Damonte was heading back home, they would call off their attack. Many didn't want to attack, but the idea of hiding and there being the potential for battle any day was not an easy way to live. With so many people leaving for battle and so many being holders, they all decided to organize babysitters too. It was dusk out and even darker in the woods. A man was traversing some woods far to the west when suddenly he heard a noise behind him. The woods weren't too dense, so he peered around to see if he could make out what made the noise. He saw some limbs above were shaking. Who's there? Called the man. He was ready to run because he didn't want the soldiers or dragons to pick him up. But suddenly a dragon appeared before him. The dragon had black on its back. The man sucked in his breath. I almost made it to the ocean, he said to himself. Then he heard, Joyster, I'm here to help you. The man looked up and saw another dragon navigating through the trees to land, but the dragon was red, a deep, dark red. The dragon before him looked up and raised its wings. No, commanded Brumman. I'm a dragon master, and I can help you. You need help. The dragon wasn't sure, but it didn't lift off yet. The man slipped behind a tree, so neither the dragon nor the young man would see him. You're lucky you didn't fly straight, said Brumman. You're also lucky you didn't drink any more potions. Brumman slid off Hagar and approached the dragon. The man peered around the tree. The young man looked familiar to him, but the dragon was in the way of him fully seeing the young man. Brumman held out his hand to the dragon, and then he gently stroked the dragon. I could never get enough of stroking you dragons. Don't you worry. The black color will recede. I thought for a minute. Yes, recede is the word. All the black will recede the longer you are off potions. The dragon thought to Brumman, You helped me to escape, but you are my enemy. Brumman thought, Your definition of enemy is, well, it's crooked in the very least. I don't want you to take potions. I helped you so you wouldn't have to take them anymore. Brumman continued stroking the dragon. Do you have a name? I only named you Joyster so I could cast the charm. The dragon thought, I like the sound of that name, and I don't remember my name. Don't worry, your memory should return, said Brumman. We only have one dragon whose memory didn't return. Then they heard the noise of a stick cracking beneath the foot, and they both jerked to look over, and both saw the man. Started the man, but he didn't know what he wanted to say. Pa? Asked Brumman as he ran towards the man. The man opened his arms and embraced the young man. Brumman? Is that you? Tears flowed down the man's face. I never thought I would see the day. I found the village burnt and demolished when I went there. I wanted to get you and your ma out, but there was no one. A few wild vegetables grew in the garden, but that was it. So I headed west. I wanted to get to the ocean and make a boat and sail in the water. I've heard of that. Brumman pulled out of his father's embrace. Ma sent me out of the village the same day the soldiers burnt it. She sent me out in the early morning. and said the soldiers took you to the mines. The man rubbed Roman's head. Yes, they took me to the mines. And I broke my leg. So they moved me to a prison cell with a dead body. Come, we can catch up later. Tell me about these dragons. Roman introduced his father to Hagar and Joyster. The man told the dragons to call him Bolton. Then he received thoughts from the dragons about being pleased to meet him. Well, Pa, I have another dragon to find. Usually Sir Bradley goes out and finds dragons, but this is one I have to find. My charm has already stopped, so I need to get him or her. Whoa, wait a minute. Bradley Simtar is Sir Bradley? I don't remember last names, stated Roman. Bradley helped me a lot in those first few days after I left the village. Then later King Fatereich started calling him Sir Bradley. Okay, I'm sure we can exchange stories. Tell me about this other dragon and your charm stopping. What charm? Roman told his father about the dragon and his charm, and when he finished, Sir Bradley was landing with Shisheli nearby. Roman looked over. Hey, Bradley, this is my pa. I see that, replied Sir Bradley, as he and Cleford dismounted the dragon. I remember your pa, and all you told me of his carving wood. He reached out and shook the man's hand. You can call me Bolton, stated the man. We thought you were dead, stated Sir Bradley. King Fatereich took soldiers to rescue prisoners. Shortly after I arrived, I fell and broke my leg, stated Bolton. Look, Roman said we had a dragon to find, so I have a mind to help him and not sail across the ocean. After we can exchange stories. They agreed. Clifford approached Joyster and he apologized for giving the soldiers the potions to give the dragon. He said he was sorry for the dragons drank the first potion and he looked forward to seeing the color. Joyster accepted his sentiments and agreed to fly with them to find the second dragon. Roman told his pa to mount up behind him because he didn't know the charm to make a saddle for him. Bolton didn't argue. He wasn't sure he wanted to use a charm for a saddle in the first place, but he didn't say that part. The three dragons lifted into the air, and then Roman started looking for the second dragon, but it was getting very dark. After a little while, the dragons didn't want to fly, so Sir Bradley suggested that the tailors detach and light up as he had seen them do before. The tailors could not fly as fast as dragons without zooming, but they agreed to zoom ahead a little and then hover or fly their speed until the dragons caught up. Finally, they landed in the valley in the mountain ring with the long pond. After they dismounted, Bolton went straight to the pond and started drinking. His water sack had run out days ago. The tailors fluttered around with their sparkling lights. Roman sent thoughts to the name Falster to see if he could figure out where in the shadows the dragon was. Once he found Falster in the northern corner, he approached Falster and they thought through things much the same as Roman had thought with Joyster. When they decided to go back to the mountains in the north, Bradley decided he could use the haze charm so the dragons wouldn't protest flying in the dark. Also, he felt they were fairly close to King Damontate's kingdom, so the haze would protect them from the enemy spotting them. When they arrived, Bradley explained things to King Fatereich and Siflin as Roman took his paw to where his mom stayed in the mountains. Okay, writers, that is the end of chapter 8. Leave a comment on if you would recognize your father if you hadn't seen him in 6 or more years. Sometimes it is hard. I was not around my father for several years, and then I arranged a lunch date so we could catch up. My father had gained so much weight and that he wasn't easy to recognize. Leave a comment on if you were Broman's father and had escaped and been on your own for around 6 years and suddenly a dragon is landing near you. Would you be scared? Would you try to run or hide? What would you do? Leave that comment. Leave a comment on if you were Broman. Would you approach these dragons? Remember, the one tried to breathe fire on Libya. So, leave those comments. Join me Tuesday for vocabulary and part 12 of A Down Soldier. Join me Friday for chapter 7 of Elloni's Pride, Gaining Freedom. Visit my website, bymckella.com, and read some character bios. If you read some, then leave a comment on which ones you've read. Go read a blog post. My coach's blog, authorkristenlam.com, and leave a comment on a blog you read and how you think the post will help you with your writing. All your comments will help us start conversations and build our community. Keep all comments respectful, and remember that someone else's perspective can help you with your writings, help you deepen, widen and deepen your writings. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and the bell so we can continue to write together, and other people will have a higher chance of finding this video and this channel, since your likes will push a video to a greater audience. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, then please share it with them. This is Michaela with Write with Michaela. Bye for now.